What's going on, everyone? The Russell Westbrook experiment in Los Angeles this year did not work. The Lakers aren't even going to make the playoffs with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook. And Westbrook isn't the sole blame for the disaster of a season. There were many elements that went into it. We didn't play defense. The roster around these three were not great. Westbrook was the third option. Davis and LeBron could not be healthy enough on the court this season to where the three of them could really sort of figure it out and mesh well. Westbrook did show great signs. There were moments throughout the season that showed his brilliance and showed that he still has it in him. He just wasn't really able to make it work. And the most likely route is the Lakers will trade him. It makes a lot of sense. Teams will be more attractive to Westbrook because he is a free agent after next season. So that's $44 million in cap that basically gets wiped off the books. The Lakers get some likely role players that will sort of fill in around LeBron and Davis. So it kind of could be a win-win for multiple teams. But in the same breath, I think another option that makes a lot of sense for the Lakers is to keep Westbrook for next season. Because again, one, his money falls off the books, so you have a bunch of cap space in order to pursue other pieces to fill around Davis and LeBron if it doesn't work again. The other option is maybe it will work. With a new coach, with new pieces around these three, maybe they can make it work. Because the whole idea and why they brought Westbrook was to alleviate LeBron, allow LeBron to play off the ball, which we saw his improved shot, things like that. When he's not in the game, Westbrook can run the show. He can play make, he can rebound, he can score if need be. When they're not playing at all, he's enough of an energizer bunny to likely win some games for you. And he was the most consistent player this whole season. He would have played all 82 games if it wasn't for them sitting that one game, right? The team did it, not Westbrook. Westbrook was not happy about that. And I know many people want to see Westbrook go. Many people want Westbrook traded, but it makes a lot of sense because you're not going to get any real major value for Westbrook other than maybe some role players, which you may be able to get this offseason anyway. They have to do some tweaks. They need to make some changes, get a little younger, try to get some pieces around. And maybe if Davis and LeBron can stay healthy, maybe the three of them can figure it out. And on top of that, you have Westbrook, who is a guy that has shown if he has pieces that are capable of filling in the spots that he isn't great at, defense, three-point shooting, things like that, he can be effective. He can be great. The problem is we didn't have any real three-point threats and we couldn't guard the three ball, which was a huge disaster. And so Westbrook basically got neutralized because you can just clog the paint because nobody on the Lakers can knock down threes. If you go and get a couple 3-and-D guys, some guys that can consistently hit three-pointers, that opens floor spacing for Westbrook. If we have a different coach that isn't just throwing out random lineups and playing LeBron and Westbrook 90% of the game together, then maybe Westbrook can be more effective. I really think that if LeBron is on the bench and you tell Westbrook, I need you to go get me 20 points in between the time that LeBron is on the bench, I think Westbrook will go do that. The problem is Westbrook was in this awkward position to where he's the third option. So he tried to play as such. He can't shoot the ball. And Frank Vogel never put Westbrook in positions to be successful. He never put Westbrook in positions to utilize his strengths. And I think if a proper coach could do so, he could be a lot more effective. And I know a lot of people really wanted to see DeRozan in place of Westbrook. But here's the problem. One, they are essentially both similar players in the sense of they operate in the mid-range. Neither of them are great three-point shooters. DeRozan is more of a scorer, absolutely. There's no denying that. But neither of them really play defense. And Westbrook is more of a playmaker, rebounder, things like that, rather than DeRozan. DeRozan's likely going to miss some games. DeRozan's going to have his off nights. And he's not going to be the same DeRozan that we saw in Chicago with Anthony Davis and LeBron. Because there, he's the first or second option, where on the Lakers, he's the third option. Yes, the games where he's the sole guy, he probably does go and get 50 that game, stuff like that, and maybe does win you more games than Westbrook would have, but it's an easier spot. It's an easier fill-in, but he doesn't fill the need that the Lakers had hoped with Westbrook. The reason they wanted Westbrook was because they have a lot of the similarities, a lot of their flaws are the same, but Westbrook can do a lot of the stuff that LeBron can do. So when LeBron isn't playing, Westbrook fills in that void. Westbrook helps because we've seen with all of the LeBron teams, when LeBron doesn't play, the teams fall apart. They're not successful. They can't win. And it was the same result this year. The only difference is Westbrook never was able to really capitalize on those moments. But maybe another year, a proper coach, right pieces surrounding him, then maybe it can happen. Because we saw Westbrook would kind of, try to get other guys involved, try to do his own thing, and then would try to score on the back half. Problem was those other guys wouldn't score. So when you have those droughts, Westbrook in many ways wasn't aggressive as he should have been. And I'm not saying Westbrook is the perfect player. Don't get me wrong. Westbrook drove me crazy all year. I don't know how many layups he missed, how many shots that he missed, just turnover prone mistakes, things like that. But he's a high volume guy, right? He's going to have turnovers. Look at LeBron. LeBron has major turnovers. Harden has major turnovers. All these guys that have the ball 90% of the time have major turnovers. But Westbrook was not put in a proper position. And I really think that if Westbrook is given a proper opportunity, you have proper pieces around him that can defend, knock down shots, maybe a big that can roll, spread the floor, things like that, then I think Westbrook would be better utilized. I think that it could potentially work. Now, is it going to be perfect? Probably not. Are they going to win a championship? Probably not. But I do think that there is more potential that could be unlocked and could be utilized for this Laker roster if they have better pieces and a better opportunity for Westbrook. Not just that, but what are the options? You're not trading Westbrook for a DeMar DeRozan or a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard or something like that. The only thing you're going to get are role players, which, yes, that's great. We needed quality role players, 3-and-D guys this season. Clearly that hurt. Clearly that was a need. But those guys you can usually get in free agency. There's likely some of them that will take salary cuts, things like that, to come play with the Lakers, play with LeBron, play with Davis, things like that. We saw that this year with Monk, things like that. You're likely going to keep, your Stanley Johnson, THT, I think is trade bait. If the Lakers are smart, that's one of their big assets that they could use to trade for. Even Austin Reeves, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Austin Reeves. As much as I like him, end of the day, he's a role player. He's very likely just going to be that glue role player guy. And he is young. He did make mistakes. He was phenomenal. He just played basketball. He was a baller, 100% high IQ guy. I really enjoy his gameplay. I really enjoy watching him play. But he's really the only asset we have besides, like a 27, 28 draft pick. So we need to get guys that can at least help structure around these three. And if the Westbrook experiment doesn't work next year, well, guess what? His money's off the books, and you can maybe go get a big name or something like that. Maybe something can happen where you can trade him on the end because, mid-season, if it's not working at that point, you can trade him, and teams will take it because they only got to pay his contract for the back half of the season, things like that. There are more options, and I do think they trade Westbrook this offseason, but I wouldn't be upset or surprised if they kept Westbrook and allowed the roster to kind of fit around him, maybe even sort of build around him. Because Davis and LeBron are easier plugins. LeBron, in many ways, is a Westbrook. He's a better version of Westbrook, but he is Westbrook in the sense of, he facilitates. He's a passer guy. He can go and get you 20. He can rebound, all of those things. So, and LeBron's smart enough to figure it out and plug in. We've seen him do that throughout his career. Davis, same thing. Davis, you know what you're going to get from Davis, and he's an easier fit. He's an easier plug-in. I personally, if you're going to go this route, would build around what do we need to capitalize on Westbrook's strengths? The drive and kick. So we need 3-and-D guys. Let's go get 3-and-D guys. Can we get a stretch and rolling big? Yes, we can. Okay, perfect. Go get those things because those things are also going to benefit Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So if it was me, I would keep Westbrook in many ways. If you can't get a good trade for him, of course. But going on this idea, I would build around Westbrook under the idea of LeBron and Davis. You have those two. They can fit into any system, any formula, whatever the case may be. But what's going to happen when they're injured or they're not playing? Because that's going to happen next year. You're going to have games in which they're not going to play. So we only have Westbrook for, let's say, 82 games. What can we do for the 30 plus games that LeBron and Davis aren't in that could be a good enough roster to win games when they're not around? And that's the direction that I would go. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you want to see Westbrook traded? Do you want to see Westbrook stay on the team? Do you think that what I'm saying makes sense? Like, you try it another year. If it works, great. Who knows? Many people thought that they had potential to win the championship this year. Maybe they figure it out and win a championship. We've seen countless teams fail in the first year. Maybe not to this degree, but we've still seen it. I mean, even LeBron, Wade, and Bosh lost their first year. Yes, they made it to the finals, but they lost. Guess what? They won 2 straight after that. Maybe they do work it out. Maybe they do figure it out. Maybe Davis and LeBron are more healthy next year and they're able to play more, or at least Davis, and then they can kind of build that chemistry. They can build that formula together. Maybe we do get the pieces we need to kind of structure, and we're in a finals next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. You never really know. That's sports. There's many teams that people thought were going to be terrible and were good, and vice versa. The Lakers were favored to win the championship this year, and now they're not even going to make the playoffs. A lot can happen in sports. I just think that the Lakers have options with Westbrook. And outside of a trade, which I don't think you're going to get any real value of, it might be in the best interest to just keep him and try to structure your team around him and then have Davis and LeBron sort of plug in when they're there, because they're going to miss at least 30 plus games, right? We know that's going to happen. So why not get that? Why not build around Westbrook, allow him to be effective, allow him to utilize his skill set and capitalize like the plan was from day one, and get a new coach and go that route. But again, let me know your thoughts. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all.